What is up, YouTube? This is TSG Comics coming at you with my new comic book day review. So I finally finished reading all my books from last week and I'm ready to talk about them. So let's get into it. First thing on my list, I'm going to start with the indies, is Grendel, Kentucky by AWA Upshot. This was a solid little book, man. It was an extremely detailed book. Tommy Lee Edwards did the art on this and it was solid. Every background on this book was extremely unique. Just look at all the bikes, you know? There's little bits of artwork in here, like really what make a book cool, you know, what really make a book stand out. And this book was all about the little things, man, like this right here. I don't know, a lot of panels in here just really struck me the right way. Like all the settings were really detailed and cool, like the cabins they went to, the little weed growing farm they were at, like everything was really detailed, and I really appreciate that about this book. As far as the artwork goes, as far as the story is, that's just as good. It was written by Jeff McComsey, and he really killed this book, man. So it starts off, you know, you kind of get introduced to this character dressed up head to toe in like pads and a baseball bat, and he has gear on, and he walks into this tunnel, and that goes unexplained. You don't know what happens, but he's obviously he's ready for war, he's ready for battle. And then it just ends, you go to the next panel, and you're introduced to this small town in Grendel, Kentucky. You meet a couple characters who you don't know are related at the time, but you come to see how they're connected. If you like bikers, if you like weed or growing weed, if you like any of those things, it's a pretty good book. It seems like it's really small townish, kind of redneckish. It looked good, you know, like the book looked really good. The story was interesting. Everybody's brought together by a death of the family. And then at the very end, there ends up being a monster that I did not expect at all, but a monster ends up popping up at the end of the book. Somebody went and fed the monster and it came out and grabbed it. I don't know. But yeah, it was a good number one, and I'm definitely curious to see what happens. I'm definitely going to check out this one, so y'all should check it out too. AWA Upshot's been killing it. I know I've been saying it, but it's just so true. They've been killing all their books. The next one I got is Sumerian People of the Black Circle. So this one was a good book. I'll say it was a little bit wordy at first. A lot of word bubbles, a lot of reading, which isn't always bad. But whenever it's not leading up to something or it doesn't feel like it's worth it, sometimes it's not, you know, as entertaining. But this one was okay. It was all right. The art in here was really good, really solid. Starts off with Conan chopping heads. It's exactly what you want to see in a Conan book, is, you know, gory, bloody action. And that's how it starts off, and then it starts to go deeper into the story. You start to learn a little bit about the setting, and if you know anything about how Robert E. Howard writes, you know he's very detailed, and he likes to show you the setting. He writes very detailed about it, and that's kind of what the writer does with this book. You know, it's an adaptation of the People of the Black Circle story, so of course it's going to be a little more wordy than the average comic book. But yeah, it was overall a decent book. There's sorcery, Conan kind of pops in at the end. Most of the book starts with Conan, and then you kind of dive into the setting and the story, and then it ends with Conan, and he's kidnapping someone, and then he ends up chopping heads. If you like seeing fucking people get stabbed, all kinds of crazy shit like that, this book is definitely for you. I'm gonna read the next one for sure. I want to see how this happens. I haven't actually read this Robert E. Howard story, so this is a pretty good adaptation. I think it also has, if you are curious to read this story, it has the People of the Black Circle story at the end, the actual Robert E. Howard story. I didn't read it. It was too much reading, to be honest. But yeah. So it was a decent book, man. Y'all should definitely check it out. Artwork in here is fantastic. And let me show y'all a panel. Him just stabbing some guy in the back. You know, his mouth's like, he's just getting stabbed. I don't know, man. It was a cool book. I liked it. So the next one I got is Black Widow issue number 1. And what I have to say, Black Widow was okay. It was a decent book. I'm going to get the next one for sure because of the ending. It was kind of a mysterious tone. I'm not sure where it's going to go at all. Black Widow is on a spy mission. She's kicking ass. She's going down a hallway and beating the shit out of a bunch of people. And then it ends with her 3 months in the future. And she is kind of leading a different life. She's kind of acting out of character. If that makes sense. She's kind of dating some random guy that I don't know. Maybe y'all know, or one of you would know, but I don't know who this guy is. Tell me in the comment section down below if you know who the guy she's with is at the end. But She's acting out of character when shopping. She she works for a contractor, I guess, and she makes blueprints. I don't know. It's really weird for a Black Widow story. But I'm curious to see how it ends, because at the very, very end, one of my favorite kind of weird villains is Arcade, and he pops up at the end, which I was not expecting whatsoever. So Arcade pops up and he's like, "When can I kill Black Widow?" And so I was like, So I'm kind of getting this just to see how Arcade plays into all this, because I like Arcade. As far as the Black Widow story, I think it was okay. The artwork was really nice. Black Widow is drawn really well. The coloring is pretty on point. But the story was not as engaging as others, I would say. But I'm still going to check it out. Y'all should check it out too and tell me how y'all thought about it, because I don't know. I don't know a lot about Black Widow, so this is kind of my first Black Widow comic that I've ever read, so I don't have much to compare it to. But it wasn't bad, so that's what I got to say about it. Next book I got is Hawkeye Freefall, issue number 6. This was a good book, man. Good read altogether. This is the final issue of the Hawkeye Freefall miniseries. Hawkeye Freefall was an extremely fun book. The artwork was solid all the way throughout. One of the funniest books I've ever really read, comic books I've ever read, or books in general, really. It was really funny. It's a really fun, action-packed book, and this issue is no exception. Really fun, action-packed book, and this issue is no exception. It kind of goes into Clint Barton, you know, the guy, I forgot what his name was, man, but the kid that was staying at his house that used to work for the Hood, who was working for Clint, he ends up getting shot up by Bullseye, and he's bleeding out. Clint Barton tries to get him rescued, but he ends up dying. So Clint Barton is on a mission for vengeance. Like, he's ready to punish some fools. So he finds Bullseye, and Bullseye's dressed up in his Ronin costume, and he's basically trying to give Clint Barton a bad rep, because people think it's Clint Barton in the Ronin suit. And so he's, fighting heroes. He shoots Bullseye in the Ronin suit, shoots Captain America, puts him in the hospital. So that says something about, what happened. If you shoot Captain America, I thought it was kind of crazy how it didn't really go more in depth in that, because, Captain America doesn't just get shot by Bullseye and go to the hospital. He's Captain America, you know what I mean? So I thought that was interesting, and it goes to show you Bullseye was kind of a badass. So Hawkeye goes, fights Bullseye, beats him, and then he then at the very end of this, it kind of all leads up to this climax where he finally fights the Hood, and the Hood fight was okay. It was more so how Clint Barton robs a bank, robs all of the Hood's money from this bank, and he's kind of doing a lot of shady stuff. And if you notice throughout the series, he does a lot of shady things. Like he lies to his friends, he lies about being Ronin, he lies about where he is, he lies to his girlfriend. He does a lot of really shady stuff just so he can protect his reputation in the Ronin costume. And that's something that I don't really understand. Like, why is this such a bad thing? Is it because he's killing people? Is it because he's is that why he's so protective of this reputation of his? Or this other persona that he has as the Ronin. But he's done a lot of shady stuff. He ends up fighting the Hood, and he kind of almost kills him. At the very end, he jumps out of a building, he tackles the Hood, and they land on a car, or they land on the floor. They land somewhere, and the Hood is seriously hurt, and so is Hawkeye. Here, check this one out. So you see he's jumping out of the building with the Hood. He tackles him, he lands, and Hawkeye just looks all beat up from this fight. And he's fought two people. He fought Bullseye first, and then he fought the Hood. And these are, those aren't people you just, fuck with. So it makes sense. And that goes to show you how badass Hawkeye really is. But I thought there was a really interesting saying here. I don't know who this character is. Please feel free to tell me in the comments. But this guy right here, he says at the very end of this issue, I'm sorry, spoiler warning. He says, "Nah, let him go, Ox. He's one of us now, even if he doesn't know it yet." And this is like a band of villains all together talking. And so I thought that was interesting, because it goes to show you, Hawkeye, people recognize that he's doing some shady stuff. Hawkeye's not being, I don't know if that's who he is, but he's doing some things that aren't good, not something an Avenger would do, not something Cap would do. But other than that, man, Hawkeye Freefall was a good book. I haven't read any other Hawkeye books, but this run was really dope, and I would recommend this to anybody who wants to learn a little more about this character. It's really funny, really action-packed. Good book all around. Loved it. Next book I have here is Wolverine issue number 5. So this is a continuation of the Dracula arc from issue number 4. So Wolverine was good, a pretty good issue. It didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. I thought it was going to be some like Omega Red Dracula super fight. Turns out it's not that way, which is what I like, because it, you know, if it went the same way I expected it to, then it wouldn't be that fun. But basically Wolverine is trapped under ice, and then he that's what happened at the end of issue 4. Issue 5 starts and he's in some random barn, and Dracula and his goons are all around, and they're basically drinking his blood through a straw and ice. And so Wolverine's an ice cube, or he's stuck in ice, and then they leave, and so he's alone in the barn. He's still trapped in ice, and he's eventually gonna melt. But these vampire kids, they come and they're like looking at him, and you think they're gonna eat him or they're gonna drink his blood or something, but they end up taking him on some snowmobiles and they're dragging him through the snow, and then he falls and he breaks out. And so Wolverine just snick comes out, and he jumps and he's about to take out these kids, and they're like, whoa, we were trying to rescue you, we weren't trying to hurt you. And so Wolverine's trying to figure out what happened. He doesn't know how long it's been since Omega Red trapped him under ice. Find out it's only been a day. And so he talks to these kids, and these kids are actually good. They're good vampires. They don't want to drink human blood. They're trying to do the right thing. And so Wolverine kind of finds out the information on where Dracula is, and so, or where Dracula's goons are. So they go to that place. They're coming with snowmobiles on stakes, or stakes are attached to the snowmobiles, and they're riding into this town, and they end up fighting. And some of those kids get their heads chopped off. Like it's definitely it says parental advisory right here. Yeah, I did not expect that. Some little vampire kids got their heads chopped. But it ends up Wolverine kind of kills them both, and then the very end was kind of confusing, but I think it's a lead into X of Swords. I'm not sure yet. We don't know yet, but I'm just gonna spoil it for y'all. So spoiler warning on this last page. But so right here, this whole page, it ends like right after he kills the 2 Dracula goons, or the vampires. He's walking through the snow, and then like a rainbow bridge, kind of like the Bifrost from like the older Thor comics, pops up and takes him, and it just takes him out of nowhere, and it's kind of unexpected. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe there's like some kind of Thor Wolverine crossover or something. I'm not sure. Maybe it's an X of Swords thing. I don't know, but it's something we need to watch out for in the next issue, because something weird happened to Wolverine at the end of this one. Something that I did not expect whatsoever. So kind of cool to see what's going to happen next. But yeah, Wolverine was a dope book. You should definitely check that one out. Can't stress it enough. Next book I have here is Cable, issue number 4. Cable issue number 4 brought me back. I will say, I thought it was okay. I thought the series wasn't really grabbing me the way I wanted it to. And this issue kind of brought me back, and now I'm in for Cable. I want to see what happens. I'm definitely gonna buy the next issue. This one was solid. It goes into the Space Knights origin, and like how they existed. It starts off with the origin of the Space Knights, where they came from on the planet Galador, and what their purpose is. It turns out they're actually are they cyborgs? I'm not sure. What are they? They're cyborgs, yes. They're like biological organisms who have mechanical components to them, and they're stuck in these suits. And so you learn a little bit about where they come from, and then it goes to the current day with Cable, and how Cable kind of is trying to finesse his way into surviving, because they wanted to kill Cable because he has their sword. And so they wanted to kill Cable, and he's like, wait, I can get you a time machine, and I can get you back to your planet, because their planet at current time does not exist anymore. It's gone. So he's like, let me get you a time machine, and I can take you back, and you can go back in time and go back to your planet. And they're like, okay, well, let's hear what he has to say. So Cable, he acts like he's leading them to this time machine. Turns out he's leading them to a bomb, and so Cable straight up punks these knights, blows them all up, and then he goes home for dinner like nothing happened. And I was like, it was funny to me that he just blew up this whole like race, like probably the last of their kind. He blows them all up, and then he takes off home and he goes to eat dinner with his dad, Cyclops, and his whole family. But it was an interesting issue. I thought it was funny. I mean, it probably wasn't supposed to be funny, but I thought it was kind of funny. But it was a good book. I'm definitely gonna get Cable number 5. This is, I think after this is gonna be the X of Swords event, X of Swords creation. So I think this is a must read, I think, for X of Swords. I think this is gonna really tie in heavily to X of Swords. So if y'all are planning on getting that event, y'all should definitely get caught up on this Cable stuff, because it's okay. This issue was good. The other issues, maybe now that I have more of a backstory to Cable, if I can read them again and come at it from a new perspective, then I would like them more. But yeah, Cable was okay, and I'm definitely wanting to see how it ends up. Next book I have is New Mutants, issue number 12. So besides from having a dope cover, this issue was pretty good. I have not read the issues in between 8 and this one, so I'm a little bit lost, but not lost enough to not understand what's going on. This standalone issue was actually pretty easy to understand, as if you have a basis on some New Mutants, you know, Magic. Basically, this issue pertains to Magic, Glob, and Sage, I think is her name. Mirage, sorry. And so they're all together. They end up, you know, it starts off. I like the vibe of this book and how it's like, you know, young. Like they're all like young kids and they're just trying to get by. And then it ends up with them going to this news organization, or this news media outlet called Docs, I believe. And Magic is pissed and she's talking shit, you know how Magic is. And then the person you don't expect at all to do anything, Glob, ends up getting in between Magic and the journalist, and he punches the dude in the face because he's like not listening. They're doing bad stuff. And I just thought it was cool. It was a good Glob issue. Glob really, you learn a little bit more about Glob, his origin. I don't know enough about Glob. I haven't read the new X-Men stuff, but I thought it was cool because up until this point, Glob hasn't really been an interesting character in my opinion. And then he punches this dude in the face, and I was like, wow, okay. I mean, he does something. No offense to you Glob fans out there. I know y'all exist, but I mean, I want to learn more about him, and I thought this was a pretty cool issue for him. But it was a good issue. I'd give it like a B+. Not a bad issue. I want to see the next one for sure. New Mutants has been pretty good. I need to get caught up on it. And then last but not least, my only DC book that I got was Batman, issue number 98. So Batman has been really good. From what I've read, at least. I've only read this issue, and then I read issue 92 and 93. So I need to get caught up. But this issue really impressed me because I don't really know a whole lot of what's going on. So I just kind of went into it hoping that it would explain what's going on a little bit. And I could piece it together. You know, like Batman, he was hallucinating at first. He's hallucinating talking to Alfred. Alfred's dead. Spoilers. Sorry. Alfred's dead. And he ends up hallucinating talking to him. And Alfred's giving him advice. And he's like, Batman doesn't know what to do. You see Batman at his breaking point. He doesn't know what's going on. And that's something you don't really see in a Batman comic. Or you see out of Bruce Wayne is him kind of at a breaking point, I guess. Or you see him at his weakest point. But you see him talking to Alfred. And Alfred's like giving him advice. And it turns out that it's just his own subconscious that's telling him what he needs to hear to get back out there and get the Joker. And I thought that was super cool. I thought it was pretty heartwarming seeing like how Batman kind of gets some closure from Alfred's death. And then also that Punchline Harley Quinn rematch. I think it was in issue 93 when they fought, but I read that issue and I read it in this one, and that rematch was badass, man. Like the fight scenes in this were super fun. There was a panel in here that I wanted to show y'all that was really cool. I thought this little standoff between Harley Quinn and Punchline was really cool. See how they're just looking at each other. What's his name? The artist on this is Jorge Jimenez, and dude, he kills it on this book. Like seriously, he is drawing his heart out. This whole fight between them was really fun. Like look at this punch right here that Harley Quinn does to Punchline. Like just straight knocks the shit out of her, and there's like blood flying out of her mouth. I don't know, man. This was a really fun book between the Harley Quinn and Punchline fight, and then Batman and Alfred talking. I thought it was interesting, and I know people that have read the whole thing might have a different perspective than me, but me coming into it without knowing exactly what's going on, I'm completely like I'm sold. I want to know what happens. Like I want to see what happens with this book. Batman is something I really need to get caught up on. It was a solid read. This was an A+ for sure. I'm gonna get caught up on this one and tell you what I think about it. Maybe I get a new perspective on it once I read the whole Joker War arc. But yeah, thanks for checking out my review video. Please feel free to hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. I'm gonna have some more content coming out for y'all this week. I got a Wednesday haul. I go to the comic shop every Wednesday, so I'll be there picking up my books, and I'll have a video out for you guys then. Please feel free to tell me what y'all thought about these books, because I'm curious to see y'all's perspectives on Batman, on New Mutants, on all these books that I got. Grendel, Kentucky was one that I really liked this week. So I want to see what y'all think about those. So hit that comment. And yeah, thanks for checking out my video. Y'all have a wonderful day. Peace.